to another episode of Legion Elite Motorsports. I'm your host, Isaiah. And today we are going to dive deep back into the silver Starion. Finally. So let's dive into it. We're going to continue reassembling now that I have all of the parts. So let's dig deep and dive in. All right, so we are picking up exactly where we left off so many moons ago. Machine shops waiting for stuff to come in, things of that nature. But now we are safe to put on the head and continue work as normal. So one of the other things besides the head I want to do is I want to connect my power steering, which is steel braided right there. And I have the connector that goes from here to here. So let's slide that in real quick, and then we'll move on to dropping the head. So what was holding us up was getting the fuel rail made custom. So what we're gonna do is we're going to clean up the surface here and on the head, lay down the head gasket, which is this guy right here, which we can actually do now. And then we're gonna bolt on the intake manifold and lay down the head. Bolt it down, get everything nice, tight, and snugged. Also, I need to show you guys one of the modifications I did to the head, the same way I did it to my previous head, because I can't put the factory cover. Let me show you. So here I can't put the factory cover over this, especially with no gasket. Neither do I have this gasket or the piece that covers it, and the multi-port intake manifold covers it by itself. So instead of going through all of that headache trying to figure out the thicknesses of the two gaskets to make sure it doesn't leak, because this area holds a lot of oil, actually filled it up with silicone. From here, all filled, all down there, and same thing here. So I don't have to worry about this leaking or give me any kind of problems or headache. So now I can just bolt everything on like normal and continue on. So what we have here is the old unit, which actually broke. See, it slides up, threads on, so on and so forth, and it actually broke. So instead of that, we have a solid unit here that threads on with a O-ring, locks everything down, solid piece of steel, so the vibration from the engine won't affect this piece here. So we're gonna put this piece on, tighten it down, and thread the feed fitting onto it. This is the high pressure line, and boom, be done with that. Okay, so it is 100% tight. That's not going anywhere. Okay, neither is the engine. Solid motor mount, so no worries. We laid down the head gasket. Now we have to put the intake manifold onto the head and lay down the head. Boom, we dropped the head. All right, so the reason we put the intake manifold on first before we drop the head on is because imagine trying to reach up under here with these giant things and these tiny crevices. It'll take you about another hour, give or take. So to avoid all of that extra stuff, just put it on first and then put the head on. So brings you to this point here. So now what I have to do is I'm going to put back on the fuel rail. I'm going to start connecting some of these vacuum lines you know, as if we're technically ready to run. So, yeah, so we're going to do that. We're also going to add in the pulley here for the air conditioning. So stay tuned for that. Brake booster, vacuum line. This one goes to the heater core, so we got to put that on there. Boost, vacuum, and all the other good stuff there. Radiator and all of that good stuff goes here. All of my electrical plugs are over here, which again still need to be cleaned up. But what I think I'm gonna end up doing is I'm gonna like clean it up a little bit, and then I have something bigger planned for the wires in general. So stay tuned for that and way later episodes. But in general, we're gonna knock it out. And now what we're gonna do is we are going to come back after all of this stuff is plugged back in and take it from there. Okay, so we put the fuel rail back in, vacuum lines back in, we put in the brake booster, we have the water port for our heater core, we also put in the timing gear, which is set, I don't know if you can see this, but it's set at top dead center, right there on a T. All right, then we have the mark at 12 o'clock here, and our link is right here. Well, this isn't the link, but after years and years of doing this, you just kind of remember where it goes. So, yep, this is on and tight. I put and sealed the little ring here just so I don't lose it. So now we can re-silicone it and put it back in. And then we're going to have to adjust all of these because all of these are loose. So I'm going to show you how to get that done. We're going to torque down the head also. So we got to put those on there, a little bit of ARP lube, get that locked down. We're going to do 3 steps on that, which will be 40, 60, and then go ahead and take it to the final torque, which by ARP studs is actually 90. Okay, so we'll take it from there and keep putting this bad boy back together. So I'm gonna go grab the little pulley for this guy here so we can put our AC belt on. So we're gonna put that on and be back. Okay, so now we put on the belt, which is these 3 screws here, 1, 2, and 3. 12 millimeter, get your tension on the belt. 14 millimeter, make sure it doesn't go anywhere. Boom, that's done. We torqued down the head and we made sure we put the ARP assembly lube, did them in the 3 steps. And then there's these bolts here. You tighten them down to 15 foot-pounds, nothing more, nothing less. And then it comes out perfect. Next, distributor. So when you see the dot right there, it's a little dimple. You line up the dimple to here, right? When you push it in, it's going to move from the dimple. That's normal. That is perfect timing. Make sure you don't do it any other way. Okay, line up your dimple here, slide it in, your dimple's gonna move. Remember that. So boom. So timing's all locked down. Now we have the fun task of plugging everything in, and we're going to move to the exhaust side. Now, I didn't quite finish it yet, but I wanted to cut this downpipe off, right? And I wanted to put the new manifold and turbo and see where everything is gonna sit, and then redo the downpipe. So let me grab that before I start plugging everything in, because I'm a visionary type of person. I like to see what it's gonna be so I know what to do to take it to the next level. So let's see what it looks like. Maybe we can see this vision together. All right. And would you look at that? Would you look at it? Look at it. So that is looking like $1,000 all day, every day, and probably twice on Sunday. But a couple things. I did not finish the wastegate, which comes out the back, and I have to redo the downpipe, so this needs to be cut out of the way, which is simple enough. And then I think I want to have the downpipe have a screamer pipe, but heading straight towards the floor. So we're talking about a lot of stuff that we're not going to dive into just yet, but we're going to keep this memento. That looks great. And just look at it from every angle. So intercooler pipe's gonna come out here, hard 90, then straight down, front mount, blah, blah, blah. Straight up, straight to the throttle body. 45-degree angle from there down. So that should be simple enough, and kind of take it from there. But that's gonna come out perfect. And if you're wondering specs about this turbo, this is a Gen 2 GT35R dual ball bearing billet wheel turbo. And it is rated to 850 horsepower. And yeah, we're gonna be using that one. It even has a hole to read the wheel speed, things like that. So yeah, that's what we're gonna be running. It's a huge upgrade from the turbo that was on here. Actually, the turbo that was on here has been moved to the twin cam Myvec engine for the Mirage. So, recycling. But this is what we have for this engine, and it should do just fine. So let's take this back off. I'm gonna cut that downpipe, and I'm going to finish plumbing some things up. Okay, I know I am all over the place, but I got a concept. I'm trying to see how it pans out. So technically it should do good, but we'll definitely see with time. So what I did was the fitting here, instead of blocking it off, I added a catch can to it. So it'll be able to breathe through there to alleviate the pressure up top. And we're talking about blow by, of course. So, once you start boosting, whatever boost slips past the piston rings is considered blow by. So, to alleviate the pressure, we got a 10AN fitting, factory 10AN there, to this 10AN here, filtered, baffled, the whole nine. So that should do very well. So that's the concept I'm running with. I'm gonna give it a shot, and of course, as time goes on, I'll see if it fills up like crazy, or, just everything, how it goes. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so spark plugs. All right, so from the left side, this is 1, 3, 4, 2. Okay, one more time, just so you guys remember. 1, 3, 4, 2. Then this one here comes from the coil. Done. Luckily, these are already numbered, so you can never get it confused. These wires are discontinued for the most part, but simple enough. So we're gonna put in the spark plug wires, and it'll be done. Also, pertaining to spark plugs, I think it's BP something 7. 7 is the heat range, and you pretty much take it from there. I use NGKR V-Power or something of the same equivalent. So make sure you remember that and take it from there. Now that that's all done, I've actually done the lash on each rocker. You have to rotate the engine for those valves that are pushed down. So I did 6 in the intake side and 10 on the exhaust side. That is what, 0.006 on this side, 0.010 on this side. Kind of a rule of thumb, ends up working out great. So with that being said, that's something you might want to go by. Keeps the valve train very quiet. So yep, so I got the spark plug wires in and connected. Make sure you lube these boots. Do not put it in dry, because when you pull it out, you're gonna rip it apart. So make sure you lube those boots. I put the manifold back on just to get some sizing for wastegate. Here is the wastegate, and the way I want it is pretty much like this. Reason being is because this end is going to point towards the muffler, and at that point I can choose to either recycle the air, so when you full throttle it's very quiet, or I can go ahead and let it scream, which 9 times out of 10 I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna size that up, make sure everything fits properly, and take it from there. Okay, so now with the valve lash and everything complete, we're ready to put the valve cover on. Very dusty. But before we do, we have to modify the valve cover to fit over the ARP studs. So if you look on the bottom here, there's this little square housing, right? So you try to put on the valve cover, it'll stick up right in this area, and that's because of this stud. So what I did was I laid down some ink on there to mark what part of the valve cover is sticking up. So once you mark it, you pull it back up, you look on the bottom, and you see where it's marked at. So now with it marked, you can see exactly where it's hitting, which is all of this area right here. So that needs to be taken out. So you have 2 ways of doing it. One, which is a no-no, and that's taking a sander, Dremel, any kind of bit like that, and cutting this section out. And the reason why you don't want to use a Dremel is because if any of that sand gets in here, and here, or over here, or anywhere in here where you don't clean it out, is going to get washed out by the oil, taken down to the pickup tube, and served to your bottom bearings, and then chunk your bottom bearings away, long story short. So to avoid that, I'm actually gonna take a vice grip and just chip it off. Boom, pop it off there, and probably move this out of the way just a little bit, because this part is metal, this is the aluminum. So you can see there. So remember that, just so you don't throw your motor over something so simple and so silly. Do not use any grinding or anything that produces a dust of aluminum or steel. So we took a piece out of here and bent this one back just so it's out of the way of the actual head stud. So we have the piece here. Pretty simple. But now we're able to put the valve cover on without any interruption. So 2 bolts, done. And fits like a glove. Dusty, but we'll tend to that once we get the rest of the motor together. And with that being said, we're gonna call it an episode right there. I definitely didn't want to keep you guys too long. There's still a good amount of work left to do. Nothing too crazy, but pretty simple. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you like this setup that's soon to be coming to the world, more or less. But definitely, if this is the type of things you like to watch, consider subscribing, hitting that bell icon for updated notifications. Give me a thumbs up. And I will see you guys next episode. But until then, remember, knowledge is power. I'll see you next time.